Coming up, what the rise of artificial intelligence really says about our humanity. And then a former Walmart CEO is saying, we need more layoffs. That's the good medicine we need. We'll break that down, and I coach you up. Let's go. Helping you win at work so you can win in life. That's specifically more money and more meaning in the work that you do. So what is threatening a lot of work, or at least it's being reported that it's going to threaten many of you humans out there, you fine folks, you people, the machines. Them robots are going to get us all, And, a healthy dose of vigilance is always good. I would say that I'm vigilant about it. I'm paying attention to it on behalf of you folks because I'm a man of the people. But I'm not frightened by it. And I don't think you should be frightened by it either. But it is real. And it is your humanness that will allow you to make the pivots, overcome any of the challenges that what's the word I'm looking for? It's like every day, the onslaught of AI and robot technology and all that stuff. Like it's just growing every day. All right. So you've heard things like ChatGPT. I've actually sampled it out. It's pretty wild stuff. And this artificial intelligence and how it can go grab all kinds of content. You could say, you could type in, write me a blog on leadership in the style of Shakespeare. And it does it. It's pretty crazy how it does it. And so, it's all the rage. It's just getting here, and it's already dominating so much of the conversation. I heard something on the news yesterday that New York City schools, or I believe it was, or New York State schools, they're already trying to come up with policies about kids using it to cheat on papers and all this kind of stuff. And that's just laughable to me. They don't even understand the technology, and they're trying to outlaw it. And, the bottom line is my position on that is they could go research a bunch of articles on Google and take 10x the amount of time that they could on ChatGPT and say, hey, what are people saying about it? And then the standard is still not to plagiarize. But this is actually way more embedded in our culture than you realize, because I didn't realize it, and I'm paying attention to a lot of news. It is changing our present, not just changing the future, and in a pretty amazing way. And I'm going to cover this in just a second, but I want to give us a framework. Those of you that are certainly in leadership, those of you that are in content creative worlds, so this could be a myriad of positions within marketing, writing, social media, just a whole host of things that this artificial intelligence through ChatGPT, and then, who knows what the competitors will be and all the iterations will be. But you need a framework for it, because it does feel a little weird. It's almost spooky. I've tried it. But as humans, number one, I just don't think we need to be threatened by it. You are unique. Artificial intelligence isn't actually unique. Artificial intelligence is not an algorithm like social media companies use or websites use. It's not an actual algorithm. It is, think of it as a system that you inform, and then it aids you. But you are the central theme of how artificial intelligence actually works as it relates to crafting, creating content, all right? So don't be threatened. It doesn't work anywhere near as good as you. It just magnifies you, if you will, maximizes you. So these are new tools, and you need to welcome them. Because if you don't learn about them, you don't start to play with them, you don't start to use them, you will be left behind. That I can assure you. Let me give you an example of what I was just teasing you about, this idea that AI is already way further advanced than I realized. Maybe you knew this. I didn't know it. How about the music industry? I am just miles from the heart of Music City in Nashville as I speak to you. And I had no idea the impact AI was having on music writing. There is a company entitled Lyric Studio. It is described as assistive AI, artificial intelligence, that produces original lyrics for songwriters in a style that mimics their own. They say about their product, it functions as a muse. So you're getting writer's block. All right, you're sitting down trying to write that hit country song or that rock ballad or whatever, and you start getting creative cramp, I like to call it. Well, you can use this. The website, Lyric Studio, says, when it comes to curing writer's block, there's nothing as powerful as Lyric Studio. So I've got an article, so I wanted to go dive in a little bit more. And this is from Music Business Worldwide. It's a website. And one songwriter named Floss, well, I don't get that one, but hey, says, it's like having a songwriting partner who has great ideas that you can either use or not use, but you cannot hurt their feelings. Now, that's interesting. So the idea is the way I read that is AI, as it relates to music and writing lyrics, is the muse who doesn't have feelings. So you're collaborating with AI as opposed to collaborating with one or two other songwriters. I'll get to that in a second. I want to keep going. In this article, they say that Lyric Studio's popularity has been responsible for assisting the creation of over 1 million songs. At least 15% of the people that use it are professional songwriters, artists, or producers. They have a podcast where they featured the co-founder. Music Business Worldwide has a podcast, and they featured co-founder and CEO of Wave AI Lyric Studio, Dr. Maya Ackerman, who discusses the future of AI in music. And I wanted to just read you two things from this podcast. They say, what in your view differentiates what you're doing at Lyric Studio from other AI technology in music? She says, we've built this in-house for the creation of lyrics. It doesn't do anything else. It also writes in your style. Then they say, well, where do you stand on the argument that a tool like this, AI, strips the music industry of some of its humanity? She says, that's a really important question. Lyric Studio helps you write songs from start to finish. It's actually designed not to create a full song's lyric by itself. It helps you when you get stuck. It helps you finish a song that may be sitting on the side. She said, but there's absolutely no way for our AI to function independently, and that's by design. To put listeners at ease, there's absolutely nothing out there in AI today that works without human intervention. And that's the key. I think you should never remove collaboration of human beings, feelings and experiences, and unique talent. But I see no problem with using AI to enhance the process. So embrace it. Don't be scared.
Do you know what you were born to do? In order to get hired at a job you love, you need to get clear on your talent, passion, and mission. That's why our team created the Career Clarity Guide. In just a few minutes, this free tool will walk you through a process to discover what you do best, that's your talent, the work you love to do, that's your passion, and the results that matter to you, your mission. Then you'll feel more confident throughout the job search process. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/clarity.
Hey, you fine folks who listen and watch the show on a regular basis, and for everybody who's joining us, however and wherever you're joining us, thank you so very much. A couple of quick things. If you are watching on YouTube and you're watching the long form, this is a new channel. We are splitting and have split now the content to short form highlights and then long form content. We got some more exciting announcements coming from you in the days ahead. So if you're watching the long form here, this is a new channel, and so we'd love your support like you supported the other channel. Hit subscribe and share. That would be great. And if you're listening via the podcast, thank you. We're growing. We're seeing incredible results, and that's a big part in you all are spreading the word. Give us a 5-star review and share to somebody that you feel will be encouraged by the program. All right, so here are more of my man of the people duties I just can't get away from. Inflation, recession, these words popping up every day, have been now in the news for quite some time. And it's funny, I don't know that I can prove this. I haven't looked at any data or tried to look for data for this, but in just real life conversations, I don't sense a whole lot of trepidation or fear about a coming recession. And I don't know if that's because everybody's doing so darn well, which I think is part of it, or we just get numb to hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Well, regardless, the former Walmart United States CEO, so CEO of U.S. operations for Walmart, has made some news. Bill Simon is his name, and he was speaking to Fox Business, and he said, it's crazy right now. We're stuck in this loop of wage inflation, product inflation, cost inflation, and that cycle keeps going. We have to get this inflation under control. He goes on, another year of high single-digit or low double-digit inflation, and we're going to be in a world of hurt because inflation hurts 100% of the population. A recession might hurt 2 to 3% that have lost their job. Now, I understand he's talking about a macroeconomic issue that has microeconomic impact, but he's just kind of like, look, man, if we go into recession because of staving off inflation, only 2 to 3% of people are going to lose their jobs. Wah, wah, wah. I mean, come on, man. Where's your heart? Well, he makes a very interesting point that I do think is worth paying attention to. He cited Walmart as an example and how inflation is really, really stubborn because of wage pressures on companies. But again, I think we could do something about this, and I'll tell you what it is that we, the people, can do. But he cites Walmart as having raised its minimum wage by 17% to $14 an hour. And so he's saying that builds up the cost because we're paying more per hour. So we've got to add that increased expense to our products. And because Walmart is obviously a major player in the retail space in the United States, if they sneeze, it has an economic impact, whichever way they sneeze, right? Lowering cost. Boy, everybody's got to lower their cost to try to compete with Walmart. Raise costs. Oh, Walmart's doing it, so now we can do it. I mean, it's just they're just such a player. And you understand that. Well, this guy, Simon, thinks that unemployment needs to jump up 2 to 3% to try to break the cycle. Well, two things could deal with inflation. And by the way, I do think he is right. That is long. I don't think we got to drive unemployment up is not the answer. I do think he's dead wrong there, and I've been saying that. That's the wrong fix. There are two fixes that are very practical and very doable. I'm not sure either one will happen. Fix number one. Let's start with these big old companies. Walmart's doing fine. I understand Walmart's in the profit-making business. I love me some capitalism. Make no mistake about it. But the CEO, the boards of these large companies, and we'll just keep picking on Walmart because this is the story. They're people too. They're Americans. They vote, presumably. Yes, They have a responsibility to their shareholders, but they're also citizens of this country. They could decide to not raise prices commensurate or exactly, penny for penny, dollar for dollar in what they have to do to raise wages. If there are wage pressures, certain companies, your mom and pop shops, your small business owners, I'll fight for them every day of the week and twice on Sunday because they do have to raise prices. They do. You got a guy running a local pizza place. It's his place. Small business. He's got, let's call it 12 employees, 11 employees, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, because of the wage pressures and everybody leaving, he's got to get waiters and waitresses and cooks and, whatever. And all those prices the wages go up. Well, if he has to raise wages by $1 an hour, he does need to raise the price of pizza. He has to. That dollar matters. Doesn't matter as much to Walmart. And so these big companies bear some responsibility. They can say, you know what, we got to tighten the belt. We're having to raise our wages right now, but we don't want to contribute to a bigger inflationary thing. So we'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bite the bullet, sacrifice a little bit, and we'll let this thing stabilize because we know that we have a role in it. Now, just because I suggest that does not mean that I've lost sight of capitalism, and I get it that they can't do that forever, and they can't do it necessarily in a, in a very dramatic way, but they could do something. It ain't going to happen, so we don't need to. They're just not going to do it. The response that I think is most practical and most possible, whether or not we will do it or not, we the people, is, you know what? We could stop spending. And you are seeing an organic version of this where people are saving more in the last few months. Consumer spending has slowed because of the threats of a recession. Inflation has bitten people pretty hard, and so they're starting to tighten up, which is great. But this is not all the way across the board. Credit card debt's at an all-time high, so we, the people, aren't being disciplined enough. But let me just give you an example of what I believe could happen and should happen. If you think about how the American people have responded when there's a humanitarian crisis, maybe abroad or certainly in our country, 9/11, and how we unite for a season of time. If we, the American people, united and say, you know what we're going to do? For the next 60 days, we're going to dramatically cut our household spending. We're not going out to eat. We're going to limit our groceries. We're going to make it stretch. Let me just tell you what would happen. The demand would drop instantly, and guess whose attention it would get? Because here's the deal. Companies in this country were making profits hand over fist. And when wage pressures went up, they didn't have to raise their prices. They did it anyway. They did it because you, the people, kept spending all of that government money you got or that raise you got during the Great Resignation, and you didn't save it. You just kept spending it. And companies went, well, as long as they're going to keep paying 12% more for their loofah, we're going to keep pricing it higher. You are in charge. That whole supply demand, half of that whole deal is you on the demand. This isn't that difficult to understand. You want to watch prices drop and inflation cool? It ain't Jerome, the feckless Fed Chair Powell, who's going to interest rate us out of this. It's we, the people, that are ultimately going to take care of the issue.
Are you wondering if you should leave your current job or stay put? You're not alone. That's why we created the Should I Quit My Job quiz. In just 5 minutes or less, this quiz will help you determine if you're at the right company and if you're in the right role. If you need to make a move, you'll even get practical next steps to keep you moving forward. Listen, stuck is a choice, and life is too short not to do what you were created to do. To take the quiz, go to kencoleman.com/quiz.
What's your view on retirement? I'm just pausing for dramatic effect to allow those of you that are watching or listening to fill in your thoughts there. You know, what are you thinking about retirement? I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again very briefly. I'm not thinking about retirement. I literally don't think about it at all. You're like, oh, how could a Dave Ramsey guy not think about retirement? Well, I've got my investments. I'm doing all that stuff. But I'm not planning on stopping working. I do plan on slowing down a bit, only to do some more traveling and experiences with my kids and grandkids, that kind of stuff. But I'll still be working. Trust me. I'm just here to tell you. Anybody who works with me knows that I'm not making that up. I've got to stay busy. And I don't mean busy for the sake of being busy. I'm not a checklist guy. I mean, I got to get up and know that I got some juice to look forward to. Well, in the news, Dr. Phil has announced he's shutting down his show. Hanging up the cleats is Dr. Phil, but he's really not. He is stepping down from his daytime slot, but this is why, and this is what we're going to focus on this whole retirement idea. He goes, there's so much more I wish to do. So Dr. Phil is not going to be cruising every day, feet in the air, drinking the sun tea. He's got some more ideas. You got to believe that Dr. Phil likes him some sweet tea. I said sun tea, but with that accent he's got, I'll bet you he loves him some Chick-fil-A sweet tea. That's what I think. I think Dr. Phil drinks a lot of Chick-fil-A sweet tea, but nonetheless, he's decided he's going to retire, but not retire. He's shutting one operation down. He did not give concrete details, but he's 72. And this is what I love. Now, you can hate Dr. Phil. You can love Dr. Phil. I don't care what your opinion is of Dr. Phil. I'm not even sure I've got a fully formulated opinion, and nobody cares what my opinion is on that anyway. But what I will say is I admire this. He's 72. He's made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And he doesn't want to shut it down. This is what he said. He will focus on primetime programming and plans to announce a strategic primetime partnership scheduled for early 2024. He then said, I am compelled to engage with a broader audience because I have grave concerns for the American family, and I am determined to help restore a clarity of purpose as well as our core values. Feels like I need to reach out to Dr. Phil. Now, this is admirable. Guy's got it made. He's made it. He's helping people, has for years, in a daytime slot. Now he says, you know what? I'm ready for a new challenge. 72, crazy rich, still wants to make a difference. That's what it's about. Because, and by the way, do you really get what's going on here? This is a guy who wants for nothing other than to make a difference. He's got a new vision. He's been crushing it for a long time. He's been king of the mountain over there. Now he's got a new mountain he wants to climb. He's going to take on prime time. Is that risky? You better believe it. It's not guaranteed he's going to be a success in prime time. Looks like he's taking on some really maybe not so popular topics. Maybe he's got something to say. Why is he doing it? Because he's just like you and me. He wants to make his mark. Well, he's already made his mark. I know. He wants to make a new one. And that is why I share this story. Now, if you take Dr. Phil's story right here, a guy who's got it all, doesn't need any more, done a lot. When he dies, a lot of people will talk about it. Well known. Fill in the list of all the superlatives of Dr. Phil's life. And yet, he's still dreaming, scheming, going after new territory. Now, you just take that story, and I want to share a couple of quotes. Alex, I got interested because I was reading the story, And I know my own personal mantra is I'm not ever going to stop working. I'm just not. Because I want to continue to make a difference. Till I draw my last breath, I want to be encouraging people to be their best. Well, so I thought, well, what do retirement experts or people who write books on this issue, like how do they address retirement? And oh, am I glad that I'd searched this, Alex? Because I've got an issue and we got a problem. So I don't know who these people are, but these are their quotes. Bruce Linton wrote a book called Fatherhood, The Journey from Man to Dad. Now, clearly, Bruce is writing a book about fatherhood. He's not in any way platforming himself as a retirement expert, but this is what he said. And this is a great example of how most of the world gets our view of retirement totally whacked out. You ready? This is a quote. We work all our lives so we can retire, so we can do what we want with our time. And the way we define or spend our time defines who we are and what we value. He's right about that. He's dead wrong that we work all of our lives so we can retire. Now, that's what you may think. It's clearly what Bruce thinks, but this is a recipe for regret. That's what this is. You work for 60 years, 50 years, 40 years, and the whole reason you're working is so that you can stop working? What a depressing life that is. But where he's right, I must ask, hey, Bruce, why do we have to wait until the age of retirement or the financial wherewithal to retire to then say, so we can do what we want with our time? Can I just tell you something right now? I had a great year last year. I did a lot of things that I wanted to do while working and because I work. I'm doing things every day that I want to do with my time. And I figured out a way to get paid for it. But I can tell you this. If you get to the end of your working life and you've not done much of what you wanted to do, and then you think, well, it's a bunch of recreation stuff, you will recreate yourself into regret, because only so much recreation, or recreation as we like to call it, only so much of that can fill up the heart. At some point you go, well, we've done this and we've traveled there and I've done this and I've already done the model train and I've built 7 model trains and now it's 1:00 in the afternoon and I don't want to watch any more TV because I long to make a contribution. Hobbies are wonderful. Hobbies are great. Hobbies are healthy. Hobbies aren't enough. 2 more actually. Sid Miramontes, who wrote a book, Retirement, Your New Beginning. This is what he says. Listen to this. As your life changes, it takes time to recalibrate, to find your values again. You might also find that retirement is the time when you stretch out and find your potential. Okay. Why don't you stretch out and find your potential when you're in your 20s? Why don't you find it when you're 30s, 40s, or 50s? Why do you got to wait till retirement to stretch out and find your potential? It's wacky, folks. It's the wrong view. To me, it's never too late to make a difference, but my goodness, this kind of philosophy will have a bunch of people missing out on all of the differences that they could have made. My favorite quote on this is Mr. Rogers. Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. Gotta love me some Mr. Rogers, and that is my review of this retirement age. Well, I'm at the end of some things, but I'm just getting started on others.
Did you know that recruiters take an average of 6 seconds to scan a resume? And that's if they ever see it in the first place. In fact, 75% of resumes are rejected before reaching a hiring manager. Listen, folks, if you want to get hired, you've got to make your resume worth noticing. That's why we created How to Write the Perfect Resume. This free guide will walk you through the 5 steps to stand out in the hiring process to get you your dream job. If you want to get started, go to kencoleman.com/resume.
All right, time to coach some people up, and we're going to go to Appleton, Wisconsin, where Zach is on the line. Zach, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Yeah, hi Zach. Good afternoon.
How are you, sir? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. Hey, Ken, I'm calling because I feel a little bit at a crossroads in my career right now, and I'm kind of struggling to see a long-term kind of career path and thinking about maybe switching careers.
Yeah. Okay, good. So you need some confidence, or you need some ultimate ideas? I mean, when you say crossroads, my guess is you mean there are some things that you're considering, or do you not know what to consider? Where are you on this crossroads?
Yeah, so the crossroads is basically kind of two things. So I'm about 16 years into my career, and I've been successful and had success in sales. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've had a chance to progress that way, but you know, there's just something I feel like there might be a little more there, and trying to kind of think if I should entertain maybe looking at a different direction.
Okay, what direction?
So just the other thing that I was thinking about is I've really lately, in the last couple of years, I've really had an interest kind of on the financial side. You know, as I've grown in my sales career, I've been more involved in kind of that side of the business in environment. So that's probably the direction I would go.
Are you talking about more on the accounting, finance side of running a business, meaning you would be more in the chief financial officer lane?
Yeah, I'm not sure quite on the accounting side, more just like the business side of costs and operations.
There we go.
Kind of something like that.
Great. Well, I will say this. If you're looking for a little jolt of confidence, I think being a successful salesperson really gives you a unique perspective as well as great experience to move over into the operations side of things. It's just a wonderful viewpoint, you know. And I could say the same for somebody that maybe was a career operations person that wanted to move to sales. I would go, that unique experience and the skill set you have over there really sets you up to do very well on the other side of things. So I think it's a good fit, especially if you want to do it. The question is, do you have the talent, the raw talent? You may have to learn some skills and some disciplines and get some experience. But do you think you've got the chops? Do you have the talent to pull off an operations role?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have played in that just because of the lower level management role I do have. You know, one thing that's kind of sticking in the back of my mind is, you mentioned it before, is just the confidence side of it, and making that switch from something that I have been successful at and kind of falling back a bit in my career.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you this.
Down a couple of rungs.
All right. So let's just speak to how do we get confident? Okay. The way we get confident is we get really clear. So the fact that you're lacking confidence means you're dealing with some doubt, right? Doubt is the source of a lack of confidence. I'm doubt, and I'm so focused on doubt that I can't possibly summon any confidence. So what are you most doubtful about? Well, if you say, well, Ken, I don't have a ton of experience. Okay, great. You don't, but you have some experience. You just told me a few minutes ago you've got some experience. And so you remind yourself, you know what? I've got some basic experience in understanding ops, and I've done some things, I've done some good things, and so I can build on that. Okay. So then you start going through, what are the other doubts that you have? I doubt that somebody will give me a shot because I've been in sales for 16 years. Well, that's totally bogus. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
I doubt that I know anybody. Well, that's not true either. So I'm not going to put you on the spot, but that's the exercise. Write down what you doubt, because that is the source of where you are lacking confidence. When you write down the things you doubt, those voices, what are they saying? Very specifically. I gave you a couple of examples. And then you look at them and you go, okay, now that's why I don't have confidence. So clarity means if I doubt this, I've got to go get some evidence that is anti my voice of doubt. So I've got to find evidence that the doubt is lying to me. And if we find the evidence that the doubt is lying and that it's not true, now all of a sudden, watch what happens. Extreme clarity. Oh, I do have the talent. I do have enough experience. People will hire me. I can make this. And all of a sudden, I'm confident and I step out.
According to Glassdoor, the average job offer attracts over 250 applicants. If you've made it to the interview, you've already made a great impression. So now is the time to showcase how you are the best choice for the role. That's why we created How to Win the Interview. This free guide will walk you through the 5 strategies to help you stand out amongst the competition. With just some intentionality, you can prepare yourself to win the interview. Go to kencoleman.com/interview.
For 2.5 years, the singular focus of my work behind the scenes, you saw me on the show, you heard me, but what you didn't see is the early morning hours, the late night hours, the hours before the show, the hours after the show that I poured into what I believe is my life's work. It's called the Get Clear Career Assessment. It allows you to get the answers to the methodology that I have been teaching on this show for years and years and years, which is your purpose is to use what you do best, to do work you love, to create or produce results that matter deeply to you. And when you know what that is, let me tell you something. There's a million different jobs. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not just one career, not just one job. It's the idea that, hey, I know how I'm uniquely wired, and it gives me clarity and confidence to do what I was born to do, to make the mark I want to make. And so we do all the work for you by asking you good questions. And if you answer them honestly, you get a detailed report in all 3 of those areas. Where you're talented, what work you get the juice for, and what results motivate you, right? So anyway, we've had tens and tens and hundreds of thousands of people take it. And so if you've taken it and you're listening or watching this, our team wants to get some feedback from you. It will not bug you. It will not be obnoxious. It will not be difficult or time-consuming. But if you'd be willing to give us your feedback on the tool as we continue to iterate and make it better, would you email ask@kencoleman.com? Ask@kencoleman.com. If some of you are hearing me talk about it, go, man, I want that. It'll be the best 20 minutes you spent in a long time. You know what you're going to get? Self-awareness. And that's the superpower. You want to know where confidence and courage comes from? Clarity, self-awareness. Go to kencoleman.com, and it's in the store there. I don't know if we got a hyperlink for it or not, but kencoleman.com in the store will get you. You can buy the Get Clear Career Assessment. But we'd love your feedback if you've taken it. Ask@kencoleman.com. Say, hey, I'm willing to give some assessment feedback. Also, one other very quick announcement. I'm a part of Ramsey Solutions, and the mothership is spinning up another tour on our very popular event called Building Wealth Live. It gives you really clear and hopeful content so that you can win financially if you have a plan. It's the Building Wealth Live tour. Dave Ramsey, of course, anchors it, and other personalities will be joining him in different cities. I will be there February 23rd in Austin, Texas. Come on. I hope we get in early enough for me to go get some brisket. That's all I'm thinking about. And once I get the brisket, then I can deliver some content. John Deloney, Jade Warshaw joined me there with Dave. And then we finish up the tour May the 2nd. Anaheim, California, our final stop. Dave Ramsey, John Deloney, Christina Ellis. The tickets are $49. You can get a 4-pack of tickets starting at $175. RamseySolutions.com/events. That's where you go. RamseySolutions.com/events. All right, Antonio joins us now in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Antonio, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken Coleman. How are you doing, sir?
I'm telling you, I'm doing so good it scares me.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. What's up?
So my question is, so I'm an engineer, and I've worked in that field for 7 years. And so I actually left that job last week, and now I'm on overnight stock at Walmart.
Wow.
And I actually love it.
Whoa.
But I know. But it's not making enough to pay the bills. And so I'm wondering, should I go back and continue my career as an engineer, or should I go into a different industry or start something new?
Okay. What caused you to walk away from, I mean, here you are a week later going, should I go back to being an engineer? And I can't answer that until you tell me what made you leave the last engineer job.
Yeah, well, so I've been working for the same company for 7 years. And there's several things. I kind of felt stagnant. I'm a really driven person. I felt like at that company I was kind of spinning my wheels, and there was not much movement there.
Yeah, how much were you making as an engineer spinning your wheels?
Well, that's the other thing. I was only making about $76,000 a year.
What are you making right now per hour?
Making $14.50.
Okay, so I wish you would have called me a week ago and said, hey, Ken, I am in a company. I've been with them for 7 years. I'm an engineer, and I feel like I've hit my lid with the company.
Yeah.
I wish you'd have called me then, and I would have said, okay, that's totally natural. You don't feel like there's a path for growth there, and you're getting antsy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. And then you know what I would have said a week ago?
What?
Get over it. Stay put for now until we find another ladder to climb on. But I would have not. I tell you what I wouldn't have said. I'll tell you what. Why don't you just take some time off and go get yourself an overnight stocking position making $14 an hour at Walmart? That's not what I would have said.
Well,
because you can't pay the bills.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm getting at. Yes, you should probably think about getting back into the field of engineering if it in fact was the field and the work that you want to do, but you were doing the right thing in the wrong place. Is that what the case is? Or are you tired of being an engineer? There's a difference between I'm tired of not making more money, tired of being overlooked, tired of not being challenged, tired of seeing the fact that I can't grow here. Now that I get. So was it that, or was it I just don't want to be an engineer anymore?
Well, I think it's probably the first one.
Okay, then.
I did enjoy what I was doing initially, and I think I still enjoy it, but I feel like before I left, I was just kind of punching the clock and trying to get the 40 hours in.
100%. So hear me say, Antonio, listen, that's normal to feel that way. It is very confusing when you take on this job or you step into a career path and you're doing this work that you really enjoy of being an engineer, solving problems the way that engineers solve problems. And you do it for a while, and then you kind of get to a point where you go, okay, I've gotten to a point where I'm not challenged anymore. I need progress. That is absolutely human.
Okay.
So then when we get to a point where we go, I want more challenges at work, but then the workplace won't give me the challenges, guess what happens? We start to get confused because what's really happening is the emotions are going, I don't have a future here. I don't want to be here. But
Correct.
I know it's right on. But listen, here's where we get confused. When I start to realize that my emotions are saying, I don't have a future here, I don't want to be here, we start to think that means I don't want to do engineering work when that's not the case at all. We want to do engineering work in a place where we can be A, challenged, B, rewarded, C, developed, D, promoted.
So true.
I know. So here's the deal. You got to become an engineer again. You stocking shelves at Walmart, you're going to starve.
Yeah.
So this is pretty
rough.
simple. The reason you left is because you were stagnant. The reason you left is because you didn't see a future. That's okay. I just wouldn't have left until I had a different ladder to step on. There's an old board game called Chutes and Ladders. And it's the idea of going from one ladder, okay, this isn't it anymore. So I got to kind of carefully, methodically. I mean, picture me right now. Some of you people that just know I'm not super agile anymore. All right, I'm on one ladder against my house, and that ladder's not going to get me where I need to go. But my wife or my son has brought out another ladder, and I got to go from this ladder that I'm on to the ladder that's 6 inches away so I can do it, but I better be careful. I better cinch over on the one ladder, reach my left leg over, get a little foothold, get an arm hold, and I'm cinching over. See, you didn't do that. You just went, hey, I don't even have a ladder. I just don't want to be on this ladder. Whee! And now you're about to starve stocking shelves. You better keep stocking shelves until you get another job.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.